Top tips to love what you do.
Now these are no significant order. I'm going to say that for
Well, they
people
never
because
are. They never are because we don't have an agenda or a plan. We just riff on these ideas and
we
let it
just
come as it does.
love what we do, and it
Yes,
just goes with
yes,
that. So well, maybe the first one is trust.
yes, yes. I would say so.
Or we say the first one's trust, and that's trust in yourself, trust in others, trust in the bigger picture, trust. And one of the things I love about trust is Moira says it's an inside job.
Yes.
And even knowing it's an inside job just allows you to go, okay. And the
And
past things that
that helps you get to a saying, I got this, right? Even if your head's kind of going, oh my God, I don't really like this. I don't love this at all.
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Hello. Welcome to our deliciously motivated mindset conversation with Debs and Moira. And I would be Debs and
I
you
would
would
be
be Moira.
Moira. I would be.
You could be Moira today. Welcome, Moira. Welcome, listeners. Oh,
This
today.
is good. It's a goodie.
The title just feels like it's got this scrummy, yummy, just warm feeling around. Although I think that other people might go, "Oh no, I don't do that. That's too hard. This is a ridiculous title." So let's just see what actually unfolds today. But first, thank you for coming, Moira, because it'll always be great to have two people on these podcasts and not just one.
Yeah, just not, it's nice to actually speak to one another rather than just sit and speak to ourselves, right?
That's the one. That's the one. Which is nothing wrong with doing that. I just have to clarify.
No, I mean, if you're following tips to love what you do, then you could.
There's a
Just,
tip. Yeah.
yeah,
There's a whole podcast talking to yourself.
yeah,
Uh,
I do it often.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So if you've come to us before, you know the drill that we do first thing. If you haven't been to us before or listened to us before, one of the things we do is we do a PEMS check-in. PEMS is PEMS, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual check-in. And it's just checking in to see where we're at, how we are, uh, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And it's just a check in to go, this is my number. And then that's it. That's all it is. It's not, oh my God, my number's this and it's so bad and I shouldn't. There's none of that. It's just literally litmus test, check in, just like that.
Yep, just about showing up for yourself, telling yourself the truth about where you're at. That's it.
Perfect. And a 10, when we do our numbers, a 10 is chaotic, discombobulated.
Totally
It's
discombobulated. Yep.
discombobulated that even saying the word discombobulated doesn't come out properly. It's that. It's that.
That's
And
over
then
the top. Yep.
yeah. And then there's a 5, which is an in between. And then there's a 0, which is we're sort of saying 0 then. And I know it just has that love feel blanket.
Yep.
And that's where you're present and poised and there's nothing going on in your head and it's just everything's still.
Yep.
Oh,
Just
take me to the 0.
complete presence. Just
Yeah.
presence. I love that. Yes.
So all we do now is Moira and I do our numbers. You do your numbers, you write it down, and then we move on to our conversation. And at the end, we'll check in, and our intention is to take you closer to the 0. That's all. Our intention is to take you closer to the 0. So grab yourself a note-taking device, people, because we're going to crack on with this. But first, our numbers. Moira, what number are you?
2.
Ooh,
How about
I'm
you?
a 2. I actually went to write 2 and then I wrote 0.5 after, and I went, okay, well, I guess I'm a
I guess
2.5
you're a 2.5.
because my pencil and my paper are telling me different. I thought I was a 2, but so we're a 2 and a 2.5. That's as easy as it can be. Then you now listen, people, and go, yes, nod and agree, and go, no, don't like that. Yes, I love that tip. So let's crack in, Moira. Top tips to love what you
What you
do.
do. Top tips to love what you do.
I
That's
did, now these are no significant order. I'm going to say that for
Well, they
people
never
because
are. They never are because we don't have an agenda or a plan. We just riff on these ideas and
we
let it
just
come as it does.
love what we do, and it
Yes.
just goes with
Yes.
that. So well, maybe the first one is trust.
Yes, yes, I would say so.
Or we say the first one's trust. And that's trust in yourself, trust in others, trust in the bigger picture, trust. And one of the things I love about trust is Moira says it's an inside job.
Yes.
And even knowing it's an inside job just allows you to go, okay. And the past
And that
things
helps you get to a saying, I got this, right? Even if your head's kind of going, oh my God, I don't really like this. I don't love this at all. But if we say trust is an inside job and say, okay, I don't know why and what my head's saying, nice deep breath, and I've got this.
Mm. And that's like our PEMS with our number. If you feel you're a 10, that's okay. It's just a number. And trust that you've got this. And as we're on this call with you, we've all got this as a team. So I love trust. So trust being an inside job. There's tip number 1 that wasn't even meant to come out my mouth, but hey.
Well, you just trust in the flow of it, right?
That's one. So that's our top tip for number 1. What's the next one to love what you do?
So one of the things is that I would encourage people to take a big picture viewpoint of what they're doing. So top tips to love what you do. When we take a big picture view, we can do the things that maybe feel a wee bit mundane, right? I often say, I reference doing the dishes, right? So maybe I don't like doing the dishes, but I love having a clean kitchen and I love having everything put away in its place, right? And so therefore I'm not going to sit and go, oh, I really don't like this, and I don't. And do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, if this would be my suggestion for this tip, is if you're looking at whatever device you're listening to us on and saying, how am I supposed to love this task or this item or this obligation that I've got? How am I supposed to love this? Then perhaps it's a little nudge, a little tap on your shoulder to say, what's the bigger picture of how come I'm here involved in this task or this priority? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I kept thinking it's a mean to an end, but that sounds like it's a grotty job and I'm having to sludge my way through the mud to get to the end of it. So
To find the gift in it though, right?
yeah. Well, there's another tip right on its own.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand the bigger picture. So, well, yeah, see, when you're saying that, I was thinking mean to an end, I was thinking the word, you got to sacrifice a few things to do stuff. And it's like, but if you're thinking those words, if you're thinking, so choose your words. So if you're thinking, oh, I've got to sacrifice my time, my 30 minutes, my time to have a clean kitchen, then you're using those wordings. It's already a negative event you're doing. So, oh, I've got to do this, or I have to do this. It's that language type thing again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Instead of I choose to do this. Oh, there's so many tips in here. Hang on, we've just
Well,
got to pull these
I was
back.
just thinking that tip number 3 needs to be language, right? You like using the language, because to your point, instead of saying, oh, I have to do this, or I've got to do this, it's like, oh no, I choose to do this. I get to do this. That can be informed by the big picture, by the gift, by the realization that not every single task that we need to do and looking after our physical bodies or our path forward. That's what I'm saying, is that sometimes there's a bit of drudgery. But it's when we matter to ourselves that it's all okay, right?
Yeah, well, I use I love this. I love to do this, or I love this. I love doing this, or instead of I choose to, for me personally. But I can't do the dishes, even though I don't like doing the dishes. You're right. Let's just do the dishes thing. I don't, although I did the dishwasher this morning at 5 a.m. very, very quietly in case I woke the rest of the house. But you're right. I love to do it. But the moment that you say, I love to do this, even if you don't, your whole body feels that you actually love it. It's like
so your vibration changes, doesn't it?
trickery, but it's not a trickery. It's actually, yeah, I love this. I love this end result. I love knowing this. Once I do this for 2 minutes, I'm going to have a clean kitchen, or I don't know if anybody cleans their house in 2 minutes, their kitchen in 2 minutes. Good job.
Yeah,
Good job.
because that wouldn't be me.
Good job for that one. I'm not a 4-hour cleaner in my kitchen. I just also have to, clarify. But in saying that, you're right, the language, I choose to do this, I get to do this. Even I get to do this is an excitement within you. It's an invigorating,
It's a
already
celebration in
uplifting.
itself.
It's taking that PIMS 10 to a 3.
Yeah.
I get to do this. I get to do this.
Yeah.
Because I have to, because my husband's told me, or blah, blah, blah. But I still get to do this. I get to do it. I do. Not anyone else. This is me. Yeah. There was a couple I threw out before. I just can't remember what they were.
I think we kind of encompassed them in what we were just doing about the finding the gift.
The gratitude.
Yeah. Well, we put gratitude as a tip all by itself.
That definitely deserves a gratitude tip. And that's be grateful for what you have, what you don't have. Be grateful for what you can do. Be grateful for what you can't do. Be grateful you've got people you can delegate things to. Be grateful you've got people around who can challenge and support you. It's like literally be grateful for everything around you. And that when you have a task and it takes an hour, the moment you're grateful for that task and the opportunity it's giving you and those others around you, that 1 hour task just literally goes to 2 minutes because you're focused on gratitude. You're focusing on the flowers over the weeds.
Yes. Although I actually will focus on the weeds, and I enjoy the weeds too. We've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beauty in weeds also. I don't have a manicured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a manicured lawn. Well, I'm saying that while somebody's doing my lawn right now for me, but it's not. Flowers are flowers, whether they're ones that I've planted or if they're ones that are growing on the side of the road, right?
Yeah.
So
they're still there to break the pattern, aren't they?
And we can always have gratitude for whatever that is, whether it, like I said, whether it's a weed or a a planted rose bush that you've. And so that's the thing about to love what you do. It's to what I was going to say is to acknowledge that you're the boss of you, right? By acknowledging that you're the boss of you, and I actually was having a conversation with somebody the other day, is that I believe that we are powerful creator beings. We all are. However, and in this conversation I'm referencing, there were certain things happened which made it that she could not do what she really wanted to do. So she had a trip booked, and then some health things came up and she couldn't do that. She had to cancel the trip. And so she was like, shaking her fist at it and being really upset. And I said, so what can you celebrate that you get to do? And she looked at me, we were talking on Zoom, and she's like, oh God, Moira just landed from outer space again.
I can just imagine the reaction, like, what?
Yeah. Because the thing is, and we kind of got there in the end, because she's saying, well, because what I'm saying is we create everything. And so then she's saying, well, I didn't create the problem that stopped me going for my trip. I didn't create that. And so maybe she didn't, but she did get to create something that felt good. So you see right there, that's what I'm saying about choice. We can choose to sit there and be really pissed off and ticked off that it didn't go the way we wanted it to, or we said this is how it's going to be. But to me, that's a waste of energy. If I'm going to love what I do, it means, okay, I just did a reset. I'm doing it this way now. Do you know what I mean?
I do. And I was literally thinking, but my thing
But
went when Moira was saying, you are the boss of you. Absolutely. But what happens when you're employed with somebody and they're saying you have to do this task and it just goes against your grain? So I would also like to put in a tip, as in be okay with saying no.
yeah. Or
Because
reframing it, referencing it, and like, you know, doing some kind of say, I'm not going to do it that way, but I can, you know, come up with a solution.
yeah.
Maybe you can do a compromise or something, right?
So even if you are the boss of you and somebody's bossing you and paying you, you are still the boss of you. So ensure that when you're doing tasks, that they don't go against your moral judgment or your your morals and ethics that you've been brought up with. Because if you're doing something that feels wrong,
Yeah.
if you do, I'm trying to word this as nicely as I probably can, filtering. But if you're doing something that feels wrong to society, other people, brings in the 4 agreements: always do your best, be ethical with your word. If you're doing those below the line things,
Mm.
it's going to challenge you and it's going to be harder because someone said you need to do this and it's immoral and it goes against your. I don't want to give an example, but do you know what I mean? Like if your
Well, I
boss says, "I
don't,
want you to
because
do this,"
to me, I'd be saying I'm out. That right
oh,
there is that would be a no to me. If it's going against my integrity or my ethics, it has to be a no.
yeah, see, I would see this is a beautiful thing because Moira's like, no. And I would go, okay, I hear what you're saying, but let me find a way that it doesn't go against my moral judgment. So that's that tweaking of whatever it
If
is.
that was possible, absolutely.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what this makes me think of, and you know what I'm going to say. What this makes me think of is using those 3 questions. Is this
Oh,
good for
yeah.
me? Yes or no? Is this good for the other? Yes or no? Do I want to? And so if it's not good for me and I don't want to, then it has to be a no,
Mm,
right? And yes, you can do some if it's possible to shift it or tweak it to make it, you know, palatable or agreeable to you.
yeah.
But that feels like a selling yourself short, because if it's not good for me and I don't want to, it's that's where I'm coming from when I just kind of, yep, it's a no.
So when I used to work for the council, there was things that when you work for somebody, and I go back to just so that I don't know if I could work for someone now, but if I go
Yeah,
right
no, I
back
don't think I could.
in my early 20s, and worked for the local council, and I was an executive assistant to the general manager there, and so you had to do things to keep your job, and you had to do things that
Mhm.
didn't sit in alignment with me. So a few things you do, and so for me, I just kept going back to my boss saying, this doesn't sit right with me, is there another way to do it? But not a lot of people. So what I'm trying to say is, if you don't have that connection with your boss to say, I don't want to do it, there's going to be conflict. So you've got to be able to find a solution that sits right for you. And that the job still can be done, but everybody's morals, etc., are intact. Does that make sense? I've got an example and I'm so not going to tell it, but
Well, I
but
want to bring into this that my
still remembering you're the
reaction,
boss of yours.
was that?
Still remembering you're the boss of you.
Yes, but
Yeah.
my reaction in our conversation right here, where you basically saw that mine's is a no. But what I want to share with our listeners is that I have arrived at this sense of me being the boss of me because I haven't always been here. But it's the school of hard knocks and the fact that I was in a cult for 2 years. And so what you're talking about doing things that went against what you believed in or what you thought was right or wrong, I've been there.
Yeah.
I actually celebrate that experience now. I obviously didn't in time because I was very much manipulated and coerced, and a lot of fear that kept me towing the line, or doing the right thing, or being the good girl, because I am a good girl, unless I'm not.
Yes.
But what I'm saying, and I just really wanted to bring that into this conversation, because people might listen to me sort of saying, oh, well, Moira made it sound so easy to just say, oh, nope, I'm not doing that. You asking me to do something, but you have to understand of what my background is that's allowed me the space to blossom
Yeah.
into that, right?
Yeah, I hear, yes, you're right. I forgot about your cult. I don't know how I can forget about it, but because I see you as Moira, I don't see you as a survivor from the cult. I still see you as Moira, but it is a
Which is,
survivor.
thank you. That means a lot.
Which is that. So okay. I hear your side. I also hear my side without a story behind it.
Mhm.
How do you find the medium between saying no, I won't do that, and keeping your job? Because I hear I hear what you're saying, and I also know my side. I mean, for me, I just kept saying to my boss, this doesn't feel right for the people involved, and I kept going on the heartstring part, and she was like, actually, you're right, let's tweak it. So she was amazing with me and my wayward mind. I mean, they all said, don't let Deborah know what you're doing, because she'll be down on you like a ton of bricks, or don't let Deborah know, because I was a questioner. I was like, well, why are we doing this? What's the purpose of this? What's going on? How's it going to affect? And it was, let's just keep this hidden from Deborah, which meant they had to keep it hidden from my boss, because I had to report to my boss, and I would tell her everything, and then they'd find out about it. So there was definitely a ripple from that.
Right.
But how do you find that medium between, I mean, I had a very respectful boss. I could say to her, this doesn't feel right. And she was great. And I didn't have any big moral things that I was sitting in a religion that I couldn't do certain things, or couldn't eat certain things, or times, or anything. So I was pretty flexible. But how do you find that medium between you and me on this, if that makes sense?
It does. It completely makes sense. And it's a really valid question, because I think that what I would come back to when you were saying that is the bigger picture, right? If it, like, obviously, if it's something that's criminal, and that you would then you're right. You have the right to say, I'm out. But if it's something that it's like, well, I would prefer it to be something different, or I could see a way better way of doing it. What I would really encourage is to you know how we got the analogy of doing the dishes because you like to clean kitchen.
Yeah.
You're doing these things or these tasks in a certain way in order to get the paycheck at the end of the month.
Yeah.
And to celebrate that, and maybe it could be a little nudge to you to say, keep your radar out, because maybe you need to start looking for a new job.
It's the right one for me.
Yeah. But not to say, okay, that's it, I'm out, but to just, reframe it, relanguage it, see how you're talking to yourself about it. And also, I would be really mindful of your own energy etiquette. And what I mean by that is that sometimes there may be people around you that are negative, or shake it off every night. Like do some chakra balancing, protect your solar plexus chakra in particular in that kind of environment. That's kind of, does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
It does. And I think it goes right back to tip number 1, trust.
Yeah.
Trust that if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. And you can do all the personal development work in the world on things, but if it still doesn't feel right, you don't need to convince yourself of anything.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. And you're right. So it goes from that last tip, the very first tip of trust, but also it goes back to that last one that we were just talking about when you said, this sounds like the 3 questions. Was, is this good for me? Is this good for others? And do I want to? And all 3 have to be a
hell yes.
Yeah. I was like, hallelujah. You're like, hallelujah, and a hell yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Then you know it is. But if there's a doubt, then it's not. Then, and so, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying, but you're thinking, there's a lot of people out there that wouldn't.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying, and it's processing in my head, and I actually agree with you. And I actually agree with you. Well, that's handy, or not. And I agree with you. My thing was, as long as, yeah, let us know. Let us know if that tip, if there's a, let us know if you'd like some more insight into that, because we would happily unravel this. We would happily go down this path of digging in a little bit further about this. So let us know in the comments if you want us to dig into this further. If there's a self-worth piece to speak, because we would happily do that.
So what the tip that I kind of synthesized from this was to encouraging people to find a happy medium of finding your best way when you're doing, called upon to do tasks in a specific way.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, and it is going to go back to trust.
It does, doesn't it?
The right place at the right time, because that's the other part about trust is, and then you can also, the other part about that too is that even if you cannot see that you're in the right place at the right time, the clarity will come as you attend to looking after your own, maybe you just need to go around and put your hand on your heart and take some deep breaths. And just know, yes, I've got this. All is well in my world. That's one that I've used a lot. All is well in my world. Keep coming back to that.
It's an easy one to remember. All is well in my world. And that goes back to that gratitude again. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
For that, yeah. One of the thank you for unpacking that, Moira. Thank you for explaining that a different way. One of the things Dr. John Demartini's taught me is linking. And linking, the word is such an unsexy word, linking. And to link something that you do is how doing, which is similar to what Moira said, when we talk about the big picture, how doing the task, how doing the dishes will benefit my family environment or whatever's important to you. And you can sometimes just do 3 or 4 links and suddenly you're like, oh, okay, I can see what the end result is. This is where I'm going. Done. And you can get it done a lot quicker and a lot faster. Or you might need 30 links, or if it's a real drudgery job, you might need more. I don't know. But that's just one thing that John Demartini's taught me, and that's something I often do when I'm doing something that I'd love to do or don't love to do.
Right.
Don't love to do, but doing it. So it's more like, oh, how doing the dishes is going to benefit my aesthetic eye when I come into the kitchen, or whatever's important to you, or helping me make decisions later today, or
it's basically, it's giving meaning to the drudgery or finding purpose in it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I totally get that. I like that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I was just looking at the 4 agreements.
Of course you were.
I had to get them out of my drawer. I'm going to be very honest. Whereas Moira would go, I know what they are, in what order, But the 4 agreements are
be impeccable with your words.
Yeah, we were just talking a little bit about those things as well. Be impeccable with your word. What's the second one? Mine are in no order.
Don't make assumptions.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
Don't take
anything personally. And then the last one, and I always talk about this one, the last one is always do your best. And that actually, always do your best is actually a really good way to love what you do. Because your volume of love and appreciation may be different based on different environments, different situations, different energy levels in you.
Mm.
So that in itself is, it's like really stay present. With those 4 agreements, they really do call upon you to stay in the present moment, right? Being impeccable with your word means staying right here and watching not just the words coming out your mouth, but the thoughts in your head are is also in that agreement. And then don't make assumptions. You got to stay present to what is.
The
Not
don't make assumptions is a great one when I think about our PEMs, is that you're just sitting in the zero. Don't make assumptions. This is where I am.
This is where I
Just
am.
sitting,
Yep.
I'm 0 for Zen or 1. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually that's a really good point, because you don't need to get into a story about it. Right? That whole PEMS check-in is really about showing up as you are, who you are, where you are, and being kind and compassionate to yourself. This is where I am. Okay, good. What's
Yeah.
next?
Yeah. And the 4 agreements are just that. But you can live by them or not. Or today you can go, okay, today I'm just going to not make assumptions when things happen, and just start practicing, because like anything, just like our PEMs that we taught at the start, if you start implementing that daily, it's just allows you to go, oh, that makes sense. I spoke to a client on Sunday, actually, and I was telling him about the PEMs. He goes, why have you never told me about PEMs before? He said, that makes so much sense. And I was like, okay, right. I'll let you, like, I'm surprised I hadn't told you. He goes, but then I got a message at 4 o'clock this morning, because he's in another country, to me. No one will be up texting me at 4 o'clock. And he said the PEMS is just such a great, he's loved it for the last day, because it just allows me to go, oh, no wonder my PEMS is out of order. No wonder I haven't eaten. No wonder this is making sense. And he just said it just makes so much sense to what's going on around him, that he just goes, oh, that's it. And then he can function on the task. So the PEMS is just a beautiful little check-in to allow you to go back to loving what you do.
Absolutely. And getting clarity on, because the other thing that I actually have been talking a lot about in my own work with the PEMS is it actually helps you get into a felt sense of, are you needing to just be, which is your feminine aspect, or is it time for action, the doing?
Oh, yes.
Because physical and mental are the masculine. They're the doing aspects. And spiritual spiritual are the being. That's the feminine aspects. And so PEMS, it's actually a big part of the coaching work that I do. I bring in a whole piece around bringing that in, and it really does help you to love what you do when you really realize there is a time for action, and there's a time for just being and breathing into, look at what I've created, right?
And just having something just allows you to sit, and excuse me, it does just shut your mind down.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. We
Yeah.
talk about PEMS, and I hadn't heard, mind you, people will probably go, how did you never hear Moira say that? I've never heard her say action and being. I was like, oh, and people will be going, she says it every podcast or every second podcast. It's interesting. You just hear what you have to hear.
That's
and
funny,
I just,
because I have said it.
you will have said it. I know you will have said it. There's many times I say something, I'm like, that's interesting. She's like, I say it all the time, Deborah. I'm like, oh, missed that part. But I love the action and the being. It just sums it up again. But your PEMS is a great one too. Give yourself clarity
Yes,
about what's going on.
because it's
and not hiding from it.
precisely, because it's the fundamental of this is self-awareness. Right? In order to love what you do, you must be aware of who you are and what you are. What makes your heart sing? What makes you get into that space of, woohoo, look what I get to do. Right? And celebrating that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another part, and I know we did talk about the languaging earlier, is that one of the things, and actually I use this to help people break addictions, is to actually say out loud, I'm choosing this. Choosing this. Because when we're at choice, then we get to come into our heart space. So tips to love what you do is go, okay, wait, I'm just going to sit with my hands. I've got my hands on my heart as I'm contemplating this. Take a nice deep breath. And now what am I choosing? And you see, when we come into choice, we can choose to say, no, not that.
Yeah.
And of course, saying no, not that doesn't mean never. It just means, hey, I've just checked in because I'm the boss of me and I checked in with my energy and it's a no, not right now.
Yeah.
And you'll circle back or you'll, right? So it's about tips to love what you do is around really this whole there's so many layers in here. It's about self-awareness. It's about really allowing yourself to see at what position are you in your own creative arc. And what I mean by that is that we all have our own rhythm, our own pace, our own cycles. So we can sit in quiet and contemplate, cultivate some ideas, and then we set intentions and goals, and then we have our get busy and roll our sleeves up and get really busy, 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 and then you'll come to fruition. The last part of that creative cycle is to retreat and recover and rest so that you can then plant seeds for your next one.
Yeah.
This only comes about when we evolve and develop and keep coming back to developing your self-awareness, checking in, being the observed and the observer, which is a fundamental of mindfulness, is to see, oh, I said I was going to do X amount of items on my to-do list, and how do I feel about myself? Where's my PEMS at? And then go, oh, isn't that interesting? I overbooked myself and this is how it felt. But you see, it's always done with compassion. I'm always doing the best. Remember, agreement number 4, you're always doing your best. And take a deep breath.
And breathe. Well, that made me think of 2 tips, because I know we're running out of time-ish, because you know me, I'm the timekeeper, everybody, just so you know, and good luck trying to do Deb with the time. But my thing when you're just talking and we were talking about top tips to love what you do is, and I reference glitter bomb, surprise, but ensure that you're sprinkling glitter on any task that you do. Now, that's not necessary because we know that glitter can be in, you touch one thing with glitter and it just spreads everywhere.
Never get it out.
Then you can't get it out, and 4 years later you pull out your undie drawer and there's glitter, and then you're like, how do I get undies and my glitter in my undies? That, like, anyway, no, that's not telling you what happens in my house. But we do have glitter, it goes everywhere. So ensure that you've got that task that you're doing is, when you're loving it, is actually, it's glitter. It's something that lights you up, but also be flexible with, if it doesn't feel right now, I'll do it later, or I'll sprinkle a little bit of this.
I'll circle back later.
Yeah. So nothing is ever made in concrete. Nothing is ever made in concrete, but ensure that you've got that glitter around you. And the next tip I was going to say is your tribe. Your tribe is important. Those who lift you up, those who pull you down to reality when you drift away too far, but also be aware of their stories. Moira and I have a certainty about us that we can come to a realization with you of, we can show you how to love what you do. We can get you on a call. We can show you exactly what to do. We can take you through that stuff. We can allow the blocks to unfold while we've created that safe space. So we're exceptionally great at what we do. We both have different styles. So just if you're stuck and you want to talk to a friend, just be conscious that your friend has different stories, if I was to say it, attached to them, whereas Moira and I sit with that neutrality, that let's look at what's going on for you without our own agenda. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yeah.
But your tribe is important. So don't stop talking to your people, but also know that they have their own stuff as well.
And you kind of know, the person who's going to boost you up or be a good sounding board. And you also know the ones that will say, oh, don't do that. That's not okay. And right. So you want to circle yourself with the ones that really get you and have your back.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally. So, Moira, do you have one more before we go, even though we've gone past our time? Surprise, surprise. Any more, or will we wrap this up?
Um,
She's
I
going to
think
save
there's
it for
going
the
to,
dream.
I think there will be coming more will come through, and as they always do. That's how I roll. I'll go,
That's,
oh, and another thing when we're doing our
that's
recap.
perfect for our first tip is trust. So if you didn't grab your pen or note-taking device, people, quick, grab it now because we're going to
Gonna
run through our things as quick as we got. And Moira literally just said then, when I asked her if she had another tip, she just summed up tip number 1, which was trust.
Yes.
I've got this. No, if the other one comes out, it comes out. So trust, I've got this, is a beautiful one. Hand on heart, I've got this. Just remind yourself that you can do this, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And also know that trust comes from an inside job. It's all you.
Yeah, because you've got it.
Yeah.
The next tip that I had here was when I was talking about getting the big picture, because that's when we were talking about the mundane, and I just realizing this is actually tied to what you were talking about the linking, right?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that it's because it's
Oh, of
linking it
course.
to a bigger picture or a bigger outcome or a why.
Yeah.
Or a purpose or meaning. So it because that's when we can say, I'm doing the dishes or I'm doing these chores because look at the impact that. And so I just called it the big picture. Maybe that's a better way of say you don't like the word linking. But okay, so what's the bigger picture?
Big picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. The next one we had was language. Now, this goes on a tangent, this one, because there is different ways from this. This is, instead of saying I have to do this, I ought to do this, I should do this, those, even just saying that, my whole energy just feels like I want to curl up in a ball. I choose to do this. Moira's one is I choose to do this. I love that she says that because I choose to do it. It's me. I choose to do this.
Yep.
Even if you don't, when you say I choose to, there's a different energy. And for me, I say I love to. I love doing this, or I love this, and I get to do this. Just allows you to think very, very differently. And that time frame of doing something condenses down to a lot quicker. But the other thing is say it aloud. Moira mentioned it just recently. When you're saying these words, I choose to do a podcast with Moira. That's actually probably a bad one. I love doing them. Actually, as soon as I said that, I was like, that's not a great one.
I love to.
Yeah, I do. I get on the calls, even if it's early in the morning and she's in summer and I'm not. I'm wrapped up warm. But by saying it aloud, you're also telling yourself and the universe and anyone around who's listening that this is bringing you to that heartfelt place. I'm choosing to do this. I love to do this. Just to live it. And Moira mentioned the word compassion. It's another way of having compassion for yourself.
Absolutely. And I think that I like the point of saying it out loud because you're saying it to your conscious and unconscious. And when we do that, our vibration changes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, everything lightens up and all of a sudden, oh, I love that as well. I love that. I love that. Right.
Ripple effect. It's definitely a ripple.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then, of course, talking about a ripple effect, the next tip I had here was gratitude. Talk about ripple effect. Because I love saying that what you appreciate appreciates. So it's like as soon as I'm grateful for that. No, I'm grateful for that too, and that and that and that and that. So we were talking about languaging and saying things out loud changes your vibration, but so does gratitude. Because the more you see, the more you realize, wow, I'm so abundant, I'm so prosperous, I'm so well looked after by the universe. Yay me. Right? Love what you do. That's just beautiful. I like that.
Love what you do and do what you love. Yeah. The next tip we had is Moira's wording, you are the boss of you.
Yes.
You are the boss of you.
You're the boss of you. You're a creator being. I'm the boss of me.
Yeah, and that was probably our longest tip. Because we went around the part of working for somebody, working for yourself, still having to make your own decisions and your own morals and ethics, but you're the one that can say, yes, this works, or no, this doesn't work. And if it goes to no, this doesn't work, see if there's another way of alternately doing it. If there's
Yeah.
another way that doesn't go against your morals or ethics or just your core being, really, isn't it?
Mm.
But that entangled into, is this good for me? Is this good for others? And do I want to? Which is pretty much a separate tip on its own. And having those questions, which is the 3 questions that Moira and I use often, thank you, Moira, is just allows you to make that decision and go, okay, yes, it does.
It
And then
gives you
let's go.
clarity. Yeah, it gives you clarity and actually allows you to take back your power. Because if you're doing things that you haven't done that check-in with, you know, I've actually had that conversation umpteen times where people are like, oh my gosh, I've actually been doing it because they want it. These people expect it from me, and never checking, is it good for me and do I want to? So it really allows you to take your power back. But in this conversation, there is a number of different pieces that we kind of added on to what you were talking about, because this is where we said it is actually okay to say no. If it's something that really makes you go like shudder, like no freaking way am I going to do this, it's okay to say no.
Yeah, and even just that thought that people are having to make decisions like that makes me feel ick inside. That's people are getting to that point where, oh, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I can do this, and they've got that stuff that they're sitting there. So hear what Moira's saying. It's okay to say no.
It's okay to say no. And then there was something else I had suggested in there, was to find a happy medium, to say, can you reframe it? Can you look at the bigger picture of it, the purpose of this task? And maybe this is kind of your own internal GPS saying it's best if you start looking for something else as well, while just saying this is a short-term position while I get on track with something that lights me up, right?
Yeah, perfect. The next one I had was that linking, but we've moved that into big picture, and the linking was how doing this will benefit this. And that's just a reconfirmation back to that big picture, focusing on the big picture.
Yeah. The other part that just before we had talked about that, is I actually am really a big believer in using affirmative statements internally, like all is well in my world, one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites, particularly if I'm facing something that's creating stress or discombobulation, is
there we are again.
I believe that anything's possible and miracles are happening now. And if you can repeat that and repeat it and repeat it, actually changes your vibration, and it changes your state. Of course, the caveat to it is it has to make sense to you. Do you believe that anything's possible? The truth is that miracles are happening right now, all the time. There's miracles happening all over the place. They may not be happening to you or right in front of you, but it's by acknowledging that and appreciating that. Remember, what you appreciate appreciates. And before you know it, you are loving where you're sitting at. Right?
You know it's happened. There you are.
Like, ta-da! Look at that.
Yeah, surprise. The 4 agreements.
Yes.
My 4 agreements that I had to take out of my drawer. If you can live by one of them, there's going to be a shift. If you can live by 2 of them, there's going to be a shift. But if you can live by 4 of them, there's definitely a shift in your world. But if you do something and you forget one of these, then it's still okay.
Of course it is.
Don't beat yourself up or anything about
never a tool to, but something, and I think I've shared this with you before on previous conversations, is that for a long time I would actually say out loud, and it's referencing all 4 of them and just saying something to the effect of, just for today, I'm going to be impeccable with my word. I'm not going to take anything personally. I'm not making assumptions. And just for today, I'm going to do my best. That's it. Simple, simple. And then to your point, if at the end of the day, when you do a recap, you think, oh, I didn't do my best, or, oh, I made an assumption over there, it's okay. But it's about just circling back, because you are worth it.
It's perfect the way it is.
Yeah.
And I think that sums up all our, be grateful for what it is. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Mm.
Right now it's perfect. This is what's going on. Yeah.
Yes. Whose turn is it?
Um,
You did 4 agreements and then I interrupted you.
okay, well, the next one I'm going to talk about is the PEMS. So that's Moira's favorite. Well, I don't know what one's her favorite, but PEMS is my favorite. I was talking to a client the other day and she actually said, "Oh, my PEMS is out of order." And I was like, "What? I didn't even know you knew. I talk about PEMS. I didn't even know you'd heard that." And she's like, "Oh, I use it all the time." My 8-year-old daughter goes, "Oh, my PEMS has been out of," well, she gets in the car and she gets in the car and she goes, "Oh, my PEMS has been out of order, Mum. I don't know what's going on." I love it. I love it. I love it. But your PEMS is your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And I love that it allows you to get clarity. We did at the start, but I love that it allows you to get clarity on where you're at. And it's not like it's an excuse or anything, but it just goes, "Oh, well, that makes sense. Well, that makes sense because I'm cranky because I haven't eaten. Or that makes sense because of this, and this." But don't hide from it. It's just an awareness tool.
Absolutely.
And we're going to check in on ours at the very end, by the way, people. Again.
Yes, of course. That's how we do that. The next one I had here was to be flexible. To love what you do. And that's when I was talking about, how actually I was giving you an example of when somebody was really upset because a plan kind of went off the rails and she was really ticked off, especially when I said, "Yeah, but what could you do that you've got to celebrate and enjoy?" So the thing is about being flexible, and actually when we were talking about that, Deb, you didn't say it, but you have on multiple times before, is that you can move the goalposts.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so that's such an important part, is that loving what you do is harmonious and flowing, and it is not rigid and has to be this specific way in order for me to love it, because that's not what love is. Love is all encompassing and feels like a big hug. Hugs are circular in themselves too, right? So being flexible is such an important part to just,
Yeah.
and actually, as I'm saying that too, I'm thinking we're creator beings. And so if I'm flexible, I think, oh, okay, I guess the creator in me was wanting it this way. And that's good. All is well in my world.
It is going with that flow, isn't it? It is going with that flow. Not forgetting to sprinkle yourself in glitter.
Glitter bombed.
Yeah, that's it. The last tip I had was Debz and Moira.
Yes.
Reach out to us because
we're part of your tribe.
Yeah, we totally are part of your tribe. So our agenda is to keep you moving forward in life. And not only keep you moving forward, but keep you inspired, fulfilled, loving life, loving what you do, loving what you don't do in your mind. And so if you have thoughts, actions, or anything that is stagnating you, then please reach out to us, because we are literally these podcasts. The podcasts are just a teaser. They're just enough to get you through. But if you want to go deep, then please reach out to Moira and I, because we can shift your perception on whatever's going on in your past, present, or future. Yeah, totally.
And so, dear listeners, we're needing to get this wrapped up. And so that's actually your first piece of homework is, if you're discombobulated or you're not in love with what you do, reach out. Because we can help you unpack it and create workable solutions in the best way for you. Then the other thing that we really invite you to do is, now that we've kind of run through or rattled through the tips that we shared, we'd love to know, how did they impact you? Like, we'd love to continue this conversation. And are you in a situation where you think, yeah, I liked these tips, but I have an issue that the tips didn't really scratch the surface for? Yeah. And so if that's the case, we'd really love to hear from you, because the idea, like Deb just said, our conversations, our podcast conversations, are intended to give you some insight, some inspiration, some ideas, but also as an invitation to come in and work with us, either in concert together or one-on-one. But that's why let's keep this conversation going. And
Perfect.
now we've actually referenced our PEMS, our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being, the 4 pillars of us. We referenced it a number of times in this, which is because they're fundamental to loving what you do. But of course, as you know,
What I love is it's simple. You just go,
Yes.
well, of course that makes sense. Of course that's what it is.
But of course.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning, I was at a 2 and Deb was at a 2.5. And so listeners, let us know also. Join us. You can actually message us directly from this podcast episode or join in our conversation on Facebook group. Or you can message us directly, email us. But we'd love to know, where were you at the beginning? And now, where are you, dear Deb, from your 2.5?
I think I'm a 0.5.
Okay.
Don't know why, but I'm a 0 and I'm like, nah, something
But
in
just
there.
a little there, just a little.
There's a little niggle in there. There's a little niggle. So I'm going to put that as a 0.5 for me.
Sounds good. Well, for me, I am a 0. I actually really enjoyed this conversation. It was
beautiful.
It does feel, I feel all wrapped up in a warm love blanket. So I obviously love what I do.
It's because she's in the summer. Okay, that's what it is.
There you go. That's what it is.
I've got a wheat sack on my lap. I've got my heat pump on. I've got my slippers on. Yeah, but I still love what I do, and I would still get up at whatever time, in whatever weather, to definitely do these podcasts. 100%.
Absolutely. Likewise. Well, beautiful conversation. Loved this conversation. Thank you, dear listeners. Thank you, dear Debs, and thank you, dear internet.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you.
We will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.